Welcome to this episode of History Hunters. I'm going to be taking my son on a tour of Paramount Studios. Unfortunately, we're not able to videotape inside, but I'm going to use some still photos taken on this tour to show you exactly what this tour is about. Our tour started out in this building on Melrose Avenue, but for some time I've been planning a video about the actual main filming location of the Bonanza TV series. Lots of fans believe that the famous TV show was shot in Virginia City, but that isn't the case. It was actually shot at Paramount Studios on a set named Western Street, made to resemble an old west town such as the Cartwrights would have lived in. Unfortunately, the set was torn down in 1979, but this aerial photo lets us know exactly where the TV series was shot on the Paramount lot. It was directly southeast of the celebrated water tower. In my drone shot over Melrose Avenue in Hollywood, you can see two parking lots, a blue area, and what resembles a movie screen next to a building. The blue tank in the parking lot immediately south is precisely where Western Street was located on the Paramount lot. The western fronts also appeared in the 1971 episode of Brady Bunch called Ghost Town, USA. On one occasion, Bonanza actor Dan Blocker drove his sports car onto Western Street to show it off, and also for some photo ops. This scene of Mission Impossible was also shot on the western town lot. At one time, there was a mountain rising above the buildings in the background of the Bonanza episodes, but it was actually a fake mountain built atop a building just west of the town set. It was constructed of chicken wire and plaster. Because of the small scale of the fake mountain made to look far away, workers occasionally had to scurry up there and scare off pigeons because they would have appeared as giant birds during filming. The Paramount tour starts out in a waiting room featuring photos of the studio's early days as well as articles of clothing used in recent productions. Paramount Studios was founded by Adolph Zukor, who lived from 1873 to 1976. He is the one who famously designed the studio system, which was an efficient business model that kept production, distribution, and exhibition within one company. His company, Famous Players, merged with a company owned by Jesse Lasky and Samuel Goldwyn, eventually becoming Paramount Pictures. He became board chairman in 1935. A virtual who's who of Hollywood actors has performed here at Paramount, including Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, seen here in Production Park around 1940. The two were good friends and would occasionally ride bicycles together around the park. The Bronson Gate was built in 1928 and came to symbolize the power of the studio. It is best remembered in the 1950 film classic Sunset Boulevard when forgotten film star Norma Desmond, played by Gloria Swanson, is halted by a security officer. We, however, would exit out the Melrose Gate, which is more recent. The costumes on display included two worn as Elton John in The Rocket Man. This jacket was worn by Tom Cruise as Captain Pete Maverick Mitchell in the 2022 film Maverick. This is a flight helmet worn by Tom Cruise in the same film. A number of Oscars are on display as well. This one was received by the studio for Braveheart in 1995, this one for The Godfather in 1972, and this one for Wings in 1927. Also on display is a 1934 motion picture camera which had unique limited sound installation developed for close-up shots in talkie films. This is a prosthetic head used to simulate the face of Brad Pitt in the 2008 movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. It has become a tradition for stars to leave their signatures across the Paramount lot. During a 2019 renovation of the sidewalk of a former dressing room building, this piece of concrete was unearthed. It included a faint inscription by actor Alan Ladd and his wife in 1945, revealing that the suite was once used as his dressing room. By using powdered charcoal, the archive team from Paramount restored the signature without damaging the piece. Before the tour began, my son and I took turns holding an actual Oscar for War of the Worlds, a 2005 film, and it was heavier than I expected one to be. For the next 2 hours, we hopped on and off this electric cart for a tour of the studio. A rule of the tour is photos are okay but no video, so I'll try to make this interesting as I can without that video. We stopped in front of this sign which shows how Paramount Studios is laid out with 32 sound stages and other buildings, some which date back to the 1930s. This building served as apartments for contract players for when they were working on the Paramount Studios lot. This specific unit was the home away from home for the legendary Elvis Presley. It faces Lucy Park and another building that might look familiar. It was once the RKO Administration Building, but Greg and Marsha Brady walked out of that archway, which served as Fillmore Junior High School in the Brady Bunch TV series. Paramount fools us again. You'll see the same building in the background of this photo, showing golf enthusiast Bob Hope and Bing Crosby posing for a golf shot on the lawn. By the way, Bing Crosby was such an avid golfer that he dropped dead playing on a golf course in Spain. At the edge of the studio park is one of the 4 benches made for the movie Forrest Gump, so I'm really unable to say if this is actually the one that Tom Hanks was sitting on in Savannah, Georgia. But it was worth a photo op anyway. The building at the northern section of the park is the Paramount Administration Building, which appeared as a police precinct in the 1957 movie The Delicate Delinquent. Alfred Hitchcock, the famous director, set up residence and an office in this building to keep close tabs on his production shot here, which included Rear Window and Vertigo. This building serves as film vaults, but our tour did not stop here. Stage 4 is where some of Nevada Smith was shot, meaning that Steve McQueen spent a lot of time inside this building. Stage 5 was where a number of classic films were shot, including Road to Rio, Shane, Vertigo, The Graduate, and Rosemary's Baby. The Brady Bunch TV series was shot inside here from 1969 to 1974. Star Trek 5 and 6 were also shot here, as well as the Star Trek Insurrection. Bob Hope and Jane Russell used Stage 7 for scenes in Son of Paleface.
Am I in love? Am I in love? Well, I really wish I knew.
Some of Geisha Boy with Jerry Lewis was shot inside here, as well as Vertigo, the classic film with Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak. Jerry Lewis also returned here to shoot some scenes for the Nutty Professor inside this building.
In fact, Jerry Lewis urges you to see this picture from the beginning on penalty of losing your popcorn privileges.
This is the eastern facade of stages 8 and 9, which is known as the Star Trek stage. It also could have been referred to as the Jerry Lewis stage, since 6 of his movies were also shot here. Stage 14 also has produced some amazing films, such as The 10 Commandments in 1956 with none other than Charlton Heston.
You have sinned a great sin in the sight of God. You are not worthy to receive these 10 commandments.
Stage 16 fascinated me because this is where some scenes for White Christmas was shot in 1954.
And may all your Christmases be.
And here I actually thought it took place at the Columbia Inn in Pine Tree, Vermont. On our tour, we got a close-up view of the famous Paramount Water Tower, which is a second generation of the original that was torn down years ago. This is the famous blue tank, which doubles as a parking lot and can be filled with water to shoot lake or ocean scenes. The tank was also used by Charlton Heston to part the Red Sea in the 10 Commandments and was used in Escape from Alcatraz. This is where Jim Carrey sailed into the reality that his life was a mere TV show in the 1998 movie Truman Show. The large wall can be painted to adapt to any scene for any particular movie. The epic miniseries The Winds of War fought part of World War II inside of this B-tank with miniature naval ships sailing on water pumped into the tank. It kind of blew my mind looking across the blue tank and the parking lot to think that this is where Ben, Little Joe, Haas, and Adam Cartwright walked the dusty streets of Virginia City. All of it's gone and only alive in our imagination and on celluloid.
How about a beer, Leaf? I'll buy you a beer. Come on.
Just a minute.
The Bonanza TV series was shot here from 1959 to 1970 when the series moved to Warner Brothers. The change in the look of Virginia City was explained as being caused by a fire in the episode The Night Virginia City Died, which aired on September 13, 1970. Western Street owes its origins to the 1948 movie Whispering Smith, for which the town of Whispering was constructed just south of the B-tank in 1955. Western Street stood for 30 years. Another TV show shot here was Have Gun Will Travel. Roy Rogers and Trigger would film the movie Son of Paleface in 1951 here. The famous director John Ford would also use Western Street for The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Just to the right of Western Street was the Lasky DeMille barn, which has been saved and moved to a park in Los Angeles. John Wayne used part of Western Street for McClintock in 1963. Western Street also hosted Diana Ross and the Supremes in 1968 when they performed here on the Bing Crosby special, Making Movies.
You know, whenever I see a Western set, I think of Gary Cooper in High Noon.
Ah, yes. Good old Coop. I can see him now, walking down the street alone, deserted, facing overwhelming odds.
I know the feeling. Or didn't you see me in vaudeville?
Do not forsake me, oh my darling. Although you're grieving, don't you think of leaving? Now that I need you by my side.
Western Street was raised in 1979, along with most of the standing sets south of New York Street to make way for a parking lot. Stage 17 was where Bonanza interior scenes were shot from 1959 to 1973, so this was a place familiar to actor Dan Blocker, seen here outside the studio. This is an indoor Bonanza scene that was actually shot inside of the building.
Hey, Adam, maybe we get that money off Paul, huh?
For a thoroughbred racehorse? You know how he feels about horses that can't earn their keep.
Stage 17 was also where a number of big films were shot, including Road to Rio in 1947 and Sunset Boulevard in 1950.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Studio 18 has an interesting history. Alfred Hitchcock built a huge set to resemble a New York City neighborhood for the movie Rear Window with Jimmy Stewart. It was the largest ever indoor set built at Paramount, and the only way to get the entire three-story Greenwich Village apartment complex was to open the floor into the basement so that street level on the set was actually subterranean on the set. At one point, someone noticed that there were no cars traveling up and down the street, so they were lowered into the basement and pushed past the camera because there was no room for them to drive, and due to carbon monoxide poisoning issues for the crew. The Columbia Inn Interiors of White Christmas was filmed in Stage 18, as well as the ranch house, saloon, and sheriff's office for the Bonanza TV series. Stage 18 is also where the airplane and hotel interiors were faked for Geisha Boy in 1958. Harrison Ford's character of Jack Ryan had a house built on this stage for the 1992 film Patriot Games. Stage 19 is also where the classic 1941 film Citizen Kane was filmed, as well as the TV shows My Three Sons, That Girl, The Odd Couple, and Happy Days.
Oscar, I don't like to disturb you, but how's your cigar ash?
My cigar ash is fine. How are your shoelaces?
Our tour included a peek inside the set used for the current TV series The Rookie.
Dream Team, what?
We also got to slip inside the building made to look like the inside of the barracks used in NCIS Origins. Stage 20 is where Laverne and Shirley TV series was shot, and the film We Were Soldiers in 2002. One of the more fascinating aspects to the tour was zipping through the New York sets, which has allowed the studio to film in just about any section of the Big Apple while remaining in sunny Southern California. Some of the movies shot on the New York sets include Bells of St. Mary, Limelight in 1952 starring Charlie Chaplin, The Greatest Show on Earth in 1952, The War of the Worlds in 1953, and Houdini in 1953, in which actor Tony Curtis was injured stepping off of a New York street curb into some cables. Funny Face in 1957 included a bookshop exterior shot here, and Breakfast at Tiffany's was shot here in 1961. The Odd Couple TV show of the 1970s would occasionally use New York Street as well. An episode of Star Trek was also shot here on the streets of New York for the 1968 episode of Piece of the Action. That Girl TV show starring Marlo Thomas also shot the credit sequence in this area. Other TV shows which use these streets include Mod Squad, Happy Days, Taxi, Police Squad, MacGyver, The Bronx Zoo, and Star Trek. The opening credits for Laverne and Shirley TV show were also shot here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Incorporated.
We're gonna do it.
Give us any chance, we'll take it. With any rule, we'll break it.
We were allowed to go inside of one of the buildings, and you can see that there's iron scaffolding inside to allow film crews to shoot outside of every window. It is also where the controls for the electrical system for this area of the studio is located. Known as the Lucy Bungalow, Stage 25 was the place where hit TV shows such as Frasier, Taxi, Cheers, and Bosom Buddies were filmed. Stage 27 is where Mission Impossible TV series was filmed from 1966 to 1973, and where the movie The Godfather was filmed in 1972 with Marlon Brando. The Great Gatsby was shot here in 1974, as well as the Mork and Mindy TV series with Robin Williams from 1978 to 1982.
Nanu, nanu. Shazbat.
We were allowed to go inside the studio where the famous I Love Lucy TV series was filmed in the 1950s. Currently it's set up for a game show. This view of stages 30 and 31, which abut to the southern boundary of the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, give us a perfect frame for the famous Hollywood sign. Shot inside of 31 were classics like The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1939, Citizen Kane 1941, The Bells of St. Mary, the Star Trek TV series from 1966 to 69, and Little House on the Prairie. Stage 30 is where some of the scenes were shot for the movie Gunga Din, but much of the film was shot outdoors in the Alabama hills, which we visited for a prior video. The link to that video is in the description of this video. Our tour concluded in this prop building and a leisure stroll through a number of artifacts from TV shows and movies, including this Volkswagen Beetle from the 2018 film Bumblebee. This is the famous car used in Good Burger 2, released in 2023, with its very unique headrest of a hot dog. I have to admit this is a rather creepy mock-up of a dead body in a casket used in the film Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa. And this prop statue was used in the film Coming to America and depicts James Earl Jones as King Jaffe Jaffe. What do you think of the tour?
It was cool. I was with legends.
A history and a legend. This building was actually the first Capitol Records studio until 1956. Frank Sinatra recorded his first 4 albums in this studio, with one of his famous hits being I've Got You Under My Skin. Nat King Cole recorded Mona Lisa here, and Dean Martin recorded That's Amore. The building was also the NBC station from 1935 to 1938 and became KHJ until 1949, sharing space with Capitol Records. This building was once RKO Studios, which was purchased by Howard Hughes in 1948. Joseph Kennedy, who was the father of President Kennedy, founded RKO Studios. It was eventually purchased by Paramount. This is the public wall of Stage 21, which was originally RKO Radio Pictures. Desilu and Paramount bought RKO and repainted the globe. I was excited to learn that this building is where some of the scenes for It's a Wonderful Life were filmed, including Martini's Roadhouse and part of Bailey Park. The Lucy Show was also filmed inside this building from 1962 to 1968. It's said that a young girl named Norma Jean Mortensen would gaze at this dome lit up at night from her nearby orphanage and dream of stardom. And what a star Marilyn Monroe became. So right now we're having lunch at Astro Burger, right across the street. That's my order. But I don't know that I was too impressed with the tour. I know that they don't want anyone videotaping, obviously, because if everybody saw it on video, they wouldn't want to see the tour. But some of it was interesting. Especially about the Brady Bunch soundstage, which I was a big Brady Bunch fan. And the fact that they filmed Shane at one of the studios. She wants me to get my order.